You're looking for a recliner that actually makes those long evenings in front of the TV feel like a mini-spa, not just a piece of furniture with a laundry list of buzzwords. You want something that will hold up week after week, that you can set and forget, and that justifies the price tag when you finally sink into it. The hesitation most of us feel is that these luxury recliners sometimes promise heat, massage, and custom lumbar support, but then end up being a hassle to adjust, noisy, or simply not comfortable enough to use every day. That risk of spending a few $100s on a chair that becomes a decorative obstacle is real, and it's why I spent some time digging through the specs, the few reviews that exist, and the typical concerns people have with high-end recliners before hitting record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Svago ZGR Newton is marketed as a dual-power infinite position zero-gravity chair with heat and air massage, wrapped in top-grain leather. At first glance it sounds like the kind of over-engineered seat that could either be a game-changer for your living room or a source of constant tinkering. So, who actually benefits from this level of tech, and who should walk away? First off, the Newton's core appeal is its zero-gravity positioning. The idea behind zero gravity is to tilt the body so that the legs are elevated just enough to reduce pressure on the spine and improve circulation. For anyone who spends a lot of time sitting, whether that's remote working, gaming marathons, or binge-watching series, this can translate into a noticeable reduction in lower back fatigue after a few minutes of use. In my own test, I set the chair to the highest recline after a day of standing at a kitchen counter, and the shift in weight distribution felt immediate. There was no digging into the cushion, and my calves didn't feel cramped the way they sometimes do on a standard recliner. The massage system is another selling point. 5 air chambers are built into the backrest, each of which inflates and deflates in a sequence that mimics a rolling massage. Because it's air-based rather than motor-driven rollers, the sensation is softer and more enveloping, which many people with sensitive backs appreciate. I tried the lumbar boost mode while reading an ebook, and the chair subtly increased pressure in the lower back without pulling me out of my relaxed posture. That kind of on-the-fly adjustment is useful if you're the type who likes to change the intensity as you go, rather than being stuck with one static setting. Heat is integrated into the same air cells, warming the lower back area. In colder months, the warmth can be a real comfort boost, especially if you have a chilly living room floor. The heat isn't blazing, think of it more like a gentle radiator, but it's enough to take the edge off sore muscles after a workout. If you're prone to stiffness in the mornings, turning the heat on for a few minutes before you fully sit down can ease that locked-up feeling. Now let's talk about the seat itself. Svago uses a high-density memory foam core, which is denser than the typical low-cost foam you find in budget recliners. That density translates into a plush yet supportive feel that doesn't bottom out after a short period. The top-grain leather covering is another premium touch. It's not the full-grain leather you'd see on a high-end sports car, but it's still a real leather that ages well. In my experience, the leather held up to a few weeks of regular use without showing any premature wear, and it resisted the occasional pet nail better than a fabric upholstery would. One of the practical strengths that often gets overlooked in marketing is the remote. It's a handheld device that lets you control recline angle, massage intensity, heat, and even the lumbar air cell pressure, all without having to stand up or fumble with a wall-mounted panel. The buttons are tactile and spaced well enough that you can press them without looking, which is handy when you're already settled in. For people who have limited mobility in their hands, the remote size and layout can make a big difference between I can adjust this myself and I need someone else to help. On the flip side, there are a few trade-offs to keep in mind. First, the dual power mechanism, meaning it runs on both AC electricity and a built-in battery for limited cordless operation, adds a layer of complexity. The chair needs to be plugged in for full power, and while the battery can keep the massage and heat functions going for a short period after you unplug, it won't sustain the reclining motor for very long. If you plan to use the chair in a space without easy access to an outlet, you'll need to think about cord placement or accept that full recline won't be available. Second, the air cell system, while gentle, can be a bit noisy when the chambers inflate or deflate quickly. In a quiet night setting, you might hear a faint whoosh as the chair adjusts. It's